Today marks 60 years of the full U.S. trade embargo on Cuba. Signed into law by President Kennedy, the sanctions were strengthened by President Trump, who banned remittances, created hurdles to tourism, and fined companies that delivered fuel to the small island nation. Those strict policies, along with the pandemic, contributed to widespread shortages of food and medicine, which boiled over in a wave of protests last summer. But how are Cubans faring today, 1 year into President Biden's tenure? NBC News reporter Ed Augustin joins us now from Havana. Ed, good morning to you. So we saw striking images of those protests there last July. What is the situation on the ground now, especially with the pandemic stubbornly sticking around?
Well, during those dramatic protests last July, Cuba was hit by a huge wave of the Delta variant. The pandemic is far better these days in Cuba thanks to vaccinations. Cuba has one of the highest rates of vaccination in the world. 88% of adults have now been vaccinated with homegrown vaccines. And that's meant that with this Omicron variant, we've seen far lower levels of both deaths and infection rates in Cuba than in the US and Europe. However, that hasn't translated into a better economic situation. Cuba, like many Caribbean islands, is highly dependent on tourism, and it's just not coming. It's coming back in dribs and drabs. So that main economic engine of the island is still underperforming, and Cubans are paying for that economically. Huge food shortages, mammoth queues outside supermarkets, people going without antibiotics. This has become a horrible reality for most Cubans for almost 2 years since the pandemic. Combined with the US sanctions, the economic situation is grim.
So, Ed, these trade sanctions have survived 12 presidential administrations, becoming the longest embargo in modern history. We know the Obama administration worked to try and loosen some business and travel policies, a move that was, of course, not then supported by the Trump administration. So how would you describe the policy these days under President Biden, and what's its impact on everyday Cubans?
Well, I've got an example for you. 2 days ago, I spoke to 72-year-old retired Armando Collazo, and he told us how he used to receive approximately $100 a month from his daughter in Florida. But since the Trump administration banned remittances, she's had to look for other routes.
And now, poor thing, she's over there looking for someone who wants to bring me something, or if someone is coming or traveling here to bring me something. Not as a favor. They charge her. They overcharge her to be able to send me the dollars over here. There are people who do this for a living. They take American dollars and exchange them to our currency and bring it here. But those people will stab you in the back because you realize that they take an enormous amount of money. They make a huge amount of money by bringing it here.
And Armando told us that he's one of the lucky ones. Miraculously, he said, his daughter has found a way throughout the pandemic to pay people to bring him those $100 a month. But many, many Cubans, especially in the provinces, especially in rural areas, don't have that luxury, and they've had to go without that vital economic lifeline from friends and family in the States throughout most of the pandemic.
All right, Ed, thank you for that report from Havana. We appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.